important was this win for the Blue Jays?
I think it was really important. They had a devastating doubleheader essentially on Sunday afternoon, and many things didn't go the Blue Jays' way. And it started early in the morning where they lost their most potent player and the biggest bat in the lineup in Bo Bichette. The good news is at the end of this day, we found out that maybe it's not as bad as what everybody was anticipating. But Bo Bichette's going to be out of the lineup for a really long time. That was devastating blow number one. You had two absolutely clunky ball games that broke down on the Blue Jays in a number of different ways, both mental lapses, physical errors, and maybe, subpar performances, both on the mound and at the plate, and more silly mistakes. Plus, then we found out more questions about the pitching situation for the Blue Jays, leaving Sunday where they didn't have their closer, Anthony Bass, in big situations, not only in the first game, but also in the second game. While he appeared to be in the bullpen, he wasn't available. So many questions going into game one against the Baltimore Orioles tonight. The Blue Jays desperately needed their bats to heat up. They needed to take some pressure off of Hyunjin Ryu, but they also needed a win to get back on track.
Hyunjin Ryu started out pretty well. He very calmly pitched early part of the game. Obviously, those runs in the third inning really helped. Is this what you expected from Hyunjin? Like when the team's not going well, he needs to be a stopper, and that's what he was tonight. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. He was placed perfectly where the Blue Jays needed him in the most dire, and that is to be a stopper. And that's what you want from a number one in your rotation. And Hyunjin Ryu was every bit of that tonight, and the big man was really sharp on the mound against a pretty aggressive Baltimore Orioles lineup that is surprising not only the Baltimore Orioles, but their surprising baseball. The way they had been hitting, the way they had been scoring runs, aggressively doing so. This is a club that over the last week, Daniel, had averaged 7 runs per game. That's a tough lineup to slow down, but Hyunjin Ryu was doing it in a crafty way and not an overpowering way where he had really high strikeout numbers or, dominant performances in inning by inning. Just craftily going through every matchup, methodically working every count and getting batters to get themselves out versus overpowering. To me, that was a classic Hyunjin Ryu outing tonight, exactly what the Blue Jays expected when they got the lefty.
If you look at the stats, compared to what he did last time outing against the Marlins, it seemed a little bit different. He was getting ground out, like you mentioned, less strikeout. In terms of the process that he had, what did you see? What are some of the differences that you saw tonight?
You know what? I thought his fastball command tonight was way more aggressive and way more sharp on both sides of the plate. And for a left-handed hitter, okay, sometimes guys don't like to pound guys inside. I saw a little bit more of assertiveness on the inside part of the plate. And tonight we saw that softer curveball featured as well. And I thought maybe that would be a big jumping out point for a lineup like is in Baltimore. Hyunjin Ryu realized it, looking at the video, obviously talking to people in the scouting report, that this is a much more aggressive lineup. So even with that aggressiveness, he used the curveball to set up a lot of outs, and I thought that was a really masterful plan that he had.
Obviously, none of us can't be around the players, around the team right now, unfortunately. But just given the short time that you had since the game ended, talking to your colleagues, what's been the assessment of Hyunjin's tonight?
He's getting stronger. He's getting more effective. And I think that's not a product of where he's been over the last couple of weeks. That's the product of where baseball has been over the last couple of months and getting ramped up for spring training, then the long shutdown. Of course, he had some personal growth as well with his wife and him welcoming their first child. That's a lot of change for one individual, whether or not you're a baseball player or not. And then getting ramped back up through summer camp. He was elevating his pitch count. Maybe he wasn't as sharp the first couple of times out, but now you're starting everything to see the one pitch count, 2 the innings, and also the sharpness of the pitches. And that's what I walk away from this ball game more excited about, is the sharpness of the pitches and the ability to get deeper into a ball. He goes through 6 innings tonight. He masterfully does that. I think if it wasn't for a long top of the 7th inning, Hyunjin Ryu would have gone out for the 7th inning. But because of the lengthy at-bat that the Blue Jays had in that 7th, that was an easy decision for manager Charlie Montoyo and the pitching coach Pete Walker to back off the reins a little bit and take the house money that they had. That was a win tonight for Hyunjin Ryu, and it was a huge win for the Blue Jays.
One last question. We obviously weren't following the Blue Jays last year. We were focused on Dodgers and Hyunjin. So every time I speak to you or anyone from the members of the media in the Toronto area, they all tell me we didn't have an ace last year for a couple of years. We have an ace right now. Is that safe to say that you truly feel that the Jays have a legitimate ace that you can go to in times like this?
It's been a while since the Blue Jays had a stopper on the mound. They've got the guy now. They got the guy that they wanted in free agency. Hyunjin Ryu is developing into that guy, and again, he keeps getting sharper and the ability to get deeper into a ball game. And the Blue Jays want to be careful with Hyunjin Ryu. They obviously know the track record with the injuries, but what he is showing them is a guy that is ready to take the ball every fifth day, and that's what you want from your number one starter, and a guy that is budding into the ace, both on the mound, but also the personality in the clubhouse. And that's another really big calling card for Hyunjin Ryu and how he connects not only with his coaches, but also his teammates. He's beloved, and you can see it on his teammates' faces when they walk into the dugout and congratulate him on striking out the side. Or we saw the athlete of Hyunjin Ryu tonight when he came off the mound and he was challenged by fielding a couple of bunts, and he did so flawlessly. And the guys kind of ribbed him, being an athlete and fielding his position. He's having a lot of fun out there. They're having a lot of fun with him. And by the way, he's getting the job done. So absolutely, he is turning into that ace that the Blue Jays desperately needed.
Only thing that's disappointing part of Hyunjin's season so far is the fact that he can't do this at Rogers Center in front of the Blue Jays fans. It would have been awesome. Hopefully we'll get to that some point next year, but thank you so much for your time. And,
I hope so too, Daniel, and hopefully we can see you in Toronto.
Right.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much for your time. We obviously don't get your network, your work, so can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do for the Blue Jays and for the networks that you work for?
Sure, I'm the radio broadcaster for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm in my third year after a honestly interesting connection after spending 11 seasons broadcasting the Buffalo Bisons, which is the AAA affiliate, for now the Blue Jays AAA affiliate. I broadcast almost 800 games in Buffalo, New York. So my baseball career spans 14 years, and obviously I'm where I want to be. I want to be calling Major League Baseball and having the chance to broadcast the Blue Jays games for Sportsnet and on Sportsnet Radio all across Canada. I mean, it's beyond even Toronto.
Well, Hyunjin, you 4 starts, first 2 not great, last 2 pretty decent. Overall, what's your assessment on Hyunjin Yu's start to his Blue Jays career?
I think he's been a guy that's been trying to build a pitch count, find the pitches for the first couple of starts, and the Blue Jays, like a couple of other teams, have had so much adversity thrown at them. They've had zero sense of normalcy. So they tried in that Major League debut to get him through that 5th inning and tried so dearly to get him that first W. He was such a talking point for the organization and the franchise, and Hyunjin Ryu put obviously so much emphasis on coming out of the gate, being ready to log a victory for the Blue Jays, and they wanted to get him qualified for that 5th inning and then log the win. Pitch count was elevating. I saw a little fatigue in that in that Blue Jays debut. That was unfortunate because he was right there on the cusp. That would have been a great way to launch into his Blue Jays career. Didn't work out. I didn't think he was just sharp in his second outing. The third outing, you started to see a little bit more crispness. The changeup was there. The changeup was low. And the amazing thing that I'm starting to appreciate about Hyunjin is the fact that he's throwing all of his pitches at different times and in different parts of the strike zone. And today, maybe the best start so far of all the 4. And the fact that, I thought so. I thought maybe his fastball wasn't tricking the Marlins as much as you would expect. So he went to the secondary stuff, and maybe we saw some more curveballs than he had been featuring in the first couple of starts. I think that there's plenty more to come from Hyunjin Ryu, but I think because, he's not an overpowering guy, and he's not going to throw 100 miles an hour. It's all about the feel. And I think that, like a lot of the rest of Major League Baseball's field pitchers, then the good stuff is still coming in the next week or 2. So it'll be really interesting to see how much further advanced he is after 2 more starts.
One thing that I noticed from tonight's game is it was my first time watching a game at Salem Field. It looks like if a right-handed batter pulls and puts the ball in the air, it has a pretty good chance to go out. Is it a hitter-friendly park?
It's about in the middle, and it's interesting because it will change in terms of the time of the year. In April and May, it's not that friendly of a ballpark. The wind comes off of Lake Erie and it cuts across from right to left at a pretty good clip. Tonight was pretty windy. If you looked at the scene for Hyunjin Ryu, you could see the wind kind of peeling the jersey away from his body early on. The wind calmed down later in the ball game, but it is more friendly in terms of the jet stream for right-handed pull hitters. That's why you have the higher wall in left field. But the jet stream is a little bit of a concern for right-handed hitters to left field to left center field. So keeping the ballpark necessarily isn't a big problem, but it is a little bit of a concern because of the jet stream that goes with the wind predominantly blowing out towards left field.
You got to see him in spring training. What was your first impression when you, as we went through that whole process of spring training 1.0, whatever you want to call it. Did you like what you saw in Hyunjin?
I did, and the first thing that resonated with me is how engaging he was with his teammates. And it didn't necessarily mean engaging with people coming to him. He was going to other people that he was trying to get to know and fast track that relationship. So that was really encouraging to me, and that kind of lived up to what you expected, and you heard from people that covered the Dodgers too about how quickly people gravitate to him and his energy within the room, let alone what he does on the baseball diamond, because we know he's a fantastic pitcher. And then we watched not necessarily the outings that he had against traditional major league opponents in spring training, but watching him in the backfield and the way that he would tinker with certain pitches and work on certain pitches and maybe throw a changeup 8 times in a row in a bullpen. That was what was really impressive to me, is how like methodical he was in going through the processes to get pitches or the pitch count or just find that grip, that feel of the baseball early on in spring training. So that was one thing that really stuck out. And then I got to watch him throw a couple of inter-squad games at Dunedin Stadium. And the same thing that kind of jumped out there when he was working on his pitches, but also then he would change up his pitches, where he would throw a firm fastball, back off on the fastball, and then the two things that really stuck out was the different curveballs that he threw. A little bit more of a looper, the traditional 12 to 6 tumbling curveball, but then a little bit more of a firmer curveball that just had the sharper break. So that really stuck out. It was a really big learning experience for me, because now I'm watching for it while we're watching the broadcasts.
What have you heard about Hyunjin, whether it's people from front office or from coaching staff? Did you hear anything interesting about Hyunjin coming into the season?
The fact that he's kind of the leader of the clubhouse in certain instances when it comes to music and dancing and razzing his teammates, which is great, because this is a really young clubhouse right now for the Blue Jays, at least specifically, and kind of the guys that they're going to be around. And Hyunjin is going to be right in the middle of that over the next 4 years with the contract that he signed. And I think as much adversity and as many tough games that the Blue Jays have been in, to have that light-natured approach and his attitude and his energy, that's only going to benefit not only him, but it's going to benefit his teammates, where they don't feel as tight when the number one starter in their rotation goes to the mound. You know, there will be a sense of confidence, there will be a sense of calm, and obviously there's a relationship already with these guys that's been established with the personality that he has. And I've heard that echoed from his teammates now and people that he's already impressed in the coaching staff and in the front office.
All right, Ben. Really late over there. Thank you so much. I hope we could do this a couple of times more. Stay safe, and I really hope to see you soon.
Yes, I hope to see you soon too. This has been great.
All right, thanks, Ben. Take care.